I'm Leo London. Welcome back again this Friday to my channel because you guys smashed it. I said 10 comments. That's already been blown out of the water. So here's the deck list. I'm going to go in depth with some of my choices. You guys smashed it so fast. I figured after I posted the video, I'd make a sandwich. I didn't even get to eat my sandwich before you guys killed it. Or even drink my soda pop. So I'm going to put my sandwich on hold and we're going to get straight into it. Now there are not too many changes, but the changes are pretty substantial. And I'm going to tell you right now, Magician's Souls is in this deck. And I'm going to talk about what you could use to substitute the Magician's Souls. But they are going down in price. But I understand they're going to be out of a lot of people's price range. And they're probably out of mine. I shouldn't have done it. But you got to do what you got to do. So we're going to get right into it. And thank you all again for all the support on the channel. It was amazing. Okay, so off the bat, 2 Performer Pal Celestial Magician. You'll notice this is up from the last time because its protection effect is much more useful than Black Fang Magician's special summoning effect now that we have Selene. Selene pretty much renders Black Fang obsolete. We don't need it anymore. It's still very good. 2, Harmonizing Magician. Still one of the best tuners in the game. I always want to see 1, and I'm running 2 just in case Desires banish ones, or I have to run a lure and 1 gets banished then. 3 copies of Wisdom Eye Magician. The versatility that these cards give you is ridiculous. First of all, they're a scale 5, so even if you do have to use Pendulum Call, you can still pen summon out all of your level 4s and then make a ton of synchro and Xyz plays, you know, with harmonizing and all your other components there, like Time Gazer and stuff. So, yeah. A White Wing Magician. This is replacing one of the 2 purple poisons because it has a protection effect when it's in scale, which is very good and often overlooked. But also, when I Pendulum Summon, out comes Harmonizing Magician. It'll special summon out the White Wing, and then you're making two synchro plays at the same time. So you can make a level 7 and a level 8 or 2 level 8s. Also, this can synchro with Servant of Endymion if you haven't had to link her away yet. And if you wanted to, you could put Clear Wing Fast Dragon and have a Pendulum Synchro monster that doubled as a negation if you wanted to. A purple poison because it's still very good. The attack bonus is good, the pop effect is good, its defense is good, it's just good. Overdragon Magician to bounce a card face up from your extra deck back to your hand. Usually I'm getting Harmonizing Magician back. A Time Gazer because you're running the Chronograph package. I would say you have to do this. Especially if you don't have Magician Souls, you have to do this. You want to get as many bodies on the board as possible, and that is the best way to do it. 3 Jackal Kings. Now, if you have Magician Souls, you could knock this down to 2 because Magician Souls is a reliable way to get it. But if you don't, you need to rely on hard drawing it or using Time Star Magician's effect. And by the way, a Time Star Magician plus Selene is busted. You use Time Star Magician's effect, add the Jackal King to your hand, use Selene's effect, special summon that Jackal King out, and you've set up your negation either on your turn or your next turn. That is why I don't think we need Needle Fiber. I don't think Needle Fiber actually works that well in this deck, as you are adding bricks to it for no reason. 2 Big Boy Endymions. I go back and forth on how many to have. Goes from 3 to 2 a lot. They're just badass boss monsters, and their board clearing effect is so much easier to accomplish now that we have Selene. 1 Servant of Endymion because Konami hates me and they limited it to 1 because they're haters. These are my substitutes for Magician's Souls. These are 2 copies of Magician's Souls. I didn't get 3 at once through their price tag, but I probably will pick up a 3rd. 3 copies of Pendulum Call, probably the best searcher in the game. at least for our deck anyways. 3 copies of Duelist Alliance to either find the Pendulum Call that you need, find the Time Pendulum Graph, or the Star Pendulum Graph based on what your hand looks like. 3 copies of Allure of Darkness, because it says draw 2, and it's not once per turn. Busted. 2 Pot of Desires. I don't run 3 because I don't want to see Desires off of Desires, or even I don't want to see, like, I don't want to use Desires, then use an Allure, and then risk getting another Desires. The drawing into more drawing is not always good, and you don't want to do that too much. So the ratios of draw spells is really dependent on personal preference. Instant Fusion, yes, I am still running it even though it is at 1, because busting out that Millennium Eyes Restrict or Thousand Eyes Restrict is now even better because of a monster in the extra deck we're going to talk about. Star Pendulum Graph, this card is a great way to give yourself advantage. So let's say you get your Magician's Souls, you have Star Pendulum Graph and Pen Call. You activate the Pen Call, you use the Star Pendulum Graph, you get Oath Dragon Magician and Harmonizing Magician. You link away your Harmonizing after normal summoning it with the Magician's Souls or the Instant Fusion target or the Time Gazer, whatever it is. You add the high scale to your hand, the Celestial Magician, scale the Oath Dragon, give yourself back the Harmonizing Magician, and pen summon it out for its effect. If you have to. That is not ideal. You don't want to do that, but that is just one way you can make use of that card, and its protection effect is pretty good. Spell Power Mastery, probably the second best searcher in the game. It's definitely not nearly as good because we're so limited on how many servants we have, but yeah. Before, this was busted, because if you ever had Servant and this, you're guaranteed pretty much to get enough counters for its effect. 1 Upstart Goblin. There's a hollow printing of this coming, and then I'll finally have an entirely hollowed out deck. And then 2 Time Pendulum Graph. You could cut this down to 1 if you wanted, but I have never had trouble with this at 2. I run 2 because I don't want to banish it, and I might have to discard 1 off Pendulum Call, and that is the only time I've ever drawn 2, is when I just discarded the other one off Pen Call and I still had it. And this card in itself can be a win condition. It is that good. So now we're going to go into the extra deck here. Relinquished Anima. This card is nuts. So you use the Instant Fusion or the Magician's Souls. You link into this. You take one of their monsters. You link again. So you've already removed one of their monsters. If you use Thousand Eyes Restrict going second, you take one of their monsters, you link into Relinquished, you take another one of their monsters. Now you've taken 2. You've either forced an interruption or removed 2 monsters, haven't declared an attack, haven't used the negation, haven't done anything. This card is nuts. Get it while you can. I was so happy to pull as many as I did, and truthfully, I just wanted 1. I was super stoked when I pulled more than this. I think this is a sleeper card in the set. It is so good. 2 Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior. Why am I not running Needle Fiber? Because I don't think Needle Fiber does much for the deck, and having to run Noble Dragon Magician, a brick, I don't want to do that. And there's nothing that Needle Fiber does that the deck isn't doing already, and it's already doing it better. There's no need for Needle Fiber in this deck. It is a case of people seeing a good card and trying to force it into every deck, thinking that because it's a good card, it's good in every deck, and that's just not the case. Like, yes, it's okay, but it's not going to be as good as many other options you can put in your extra deck. 2 copies of Selene. These are my proxies. I want to stress again, this is Selene. Borrelsword Dragon for those quick OTKs. Clearwing Synchro Dragon, ultimate rare. This card is way better than a lot of people give it credit for. So it can use both its negations effect in a single turn. And so the one that targets, and then the one that it targets, the one that protects you from an effect that targets a monster above level 5, and the one that protects you from a monster that uses an effect when it's over level 5. It can do both of those in a single turn. And just for hijinks, once I activated Clearwing Synchro Dragon's effect to negate one of my own monsters to give it the attack boost to be able to punch over something that was otherwise impossible for me to get over. And it was pretty nuts and probably the most anime play I've ever made in my life. I'm not sure if that's actually possible in the rules, but, you know, a long time ago when we didn't know them that well, I did it. It was fun. I'm pretty sure you can still do it. Yep, you totally can. FA Dawn Dragster, Spell and Trap Negate, very easy to do. Psi, Frame Lord, or Omega. This is just so when I have Harmonizing Magician and I summon out the White Fang Magician, if I can't, or White Wing Magician, if I can't, if I don't need to go into an Xyz or what have you, and I just want to rip something out of their hand, I'll go into the Omega if I don't have the ability to make a level 7 Synchro. And it's proven pretty good. It's definitely good. You can, once it banishes itself, it opens that spot up, and you can use Selene to special summon something else. Borreload Savage Dragon, one of the best cards in the game. He's busted. He's so good. If he wasn't a hard once per turn, I would run 3 of them. Time Star Magician, because its search effect is even better now that we have Selene. So you detach 1, you search any dark spellcaster. Let's say you search the Jackal King, as I said before. You pay the 3, you special summon it right then. This is another way to guarantee Selene gets a use, and it protects your Scales or any Pendulum card. If you have Time Star Magician and 4 Pendulum monsters on your field and they Lightning Storm you, you don't have to waste a negation. You can detach, or you don't even have to detach actually. You use its effect to send 1 spellcaster from the deck to the graveyard, and you'll only lose the Time Star. Everything else will be saved by Time Star's effect, and you just make them waste their Lightning Storm, and it's hilarious. Not as hilarious as when they try and do it on your back row after you use Pen Call and it doesn't do anything. Then it's the best. Tornado Dragon, just for back row spot removal, and you can do some pretty tricky stuff. Well, you could before, not so much anymore because I don't run Black Fang Magician. But if you want to, like, you can target your own purple poison to pop it, or like things like that. Abyss Dweller, because it really hurts a lot of decks. The Rocket deck gets hurt by it a lot. Dinosaurs gets hurt by it a lot. Shadalls gets hurt by it a lot. Gaga Magician for those time crunch cheese. It sucks, but you need to do it. And then Millennium Eyes Restrict. This copy is actually on loan from channel co-host Dylan, who I love very much, and he's my best buddy. And yeah, it is one of my favorite spellcasters in the game. In fact, I want to build a whole relinquished deck. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm going to try. And then we're going to go... Now, out of everything that didn't change too much, it was the side deck. So 2 copies of Nibiru to just game end those really long combo boards. 2 copies of Lava Golem. 2 copies of Dark Ruler No More. I feel that this is the best ratio. Like, I love playing these 6 together because if I see one of these 6 when I need them, I'm probably going to win. 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone to deal with those Altergeist, Frogs, all those kinds of stuff. They just hate getting hit with those. Secret Village and Terraforming. This card is surprisingly devastating against dinos. I didn't think it would be, but it's brutal. There's a lot of spell cards in that deck, and I just did not anticipate how effective it was, and that's what won me out against dinos. I won the first time just setting up too many negates. The second time he was able to punch through what I was able to set up, and once I realized how many spells it relied on, I set up Secret Village and won Mighty Master of Magic and was able to win the game. 1 red reboot because Konami hates me and they just want to play lame decks where they set 5 and pass. 2 copies of Infinite Permanence because I only have 2. I'm not sure what I would take out to accommodate a 3rd. And then 1 Primal Token because if you're going to Nibiru somebody, you might as well at least give them a nice token. So that is it. That is the first deck. My first deck of the format. I want to thank you all for all the support. I'm going to get back to eating my sandwich now. Let me know how it works out for you. Let me know what changes you make. And thanks again for all the support. Cheers.